Chapter 3. Confidence, Boundaries, and Character as Children Grow. They face a challenge even more complex than physical danger: internal decisions. It's no longer just about identifying external risks, but about managing emotions, relationships, and pressures that can profoundly influence their behavior. At this stage, self-confidence and clarity of their boundaries become their best defenses. A confident child is not one who never doubts, but one who, despite doubt, knows they can make the right decision. This security is built at home when their opinions are heard and respected. For example, if a child expresses that they don't want to go to a certain place because they feel uncomfortable, instead of just forcing them, it's important to ask why. This not only validates their emotions, but also teaches them to recognize and defend them. Personal boundaries are just as important. Teaching a child that they have the right to say no is one of the most powerful lessons. It doesn't matter if it's a friend, a family member, or even an authority figure. If something makes them feel uncomfortable, they have the right to set a boundary. For example, if someone invades their personal space or asks them to keep a secret that makes them uneasy, they should know they can refuse and go to a trusted adult. A common case occurs in adolescence: the pressure to fit in. A group might push a young person to act a certain way to be accepted. This is where character comes into play. A teenager with a solid foundation doesn't need to follow everyone else to feel like they belong. They can choose their friendships and decide which behaviors are acceptable for them. This doesn't mean they will never make mistakes, but that they will have an internal compass to help them get back on the right path. Building character also involves responsibility. Giving them small tasks, allowing them to make decisions, and letting them face the consequences strengthens their autonomy. For example, if a child forgets to do their homework, instead of solving it for them, it's better to let them face the situation with their teacher. This teaches them that their actions have an impact and that they have the power to change their outcomes. Another fundamental element is parental consistency. Children learn more from what they see than from what they hear. If a parent talks about honesty but acts otherwise, the message is lost. In contrast, when they see congruence between words and actions, they internalize those values naturally. Confidence is also reinforced by allowing the child to express themselves freely. This includes their ideas, emotions, and even disagreements. A home where dialogue can happen without fear fosters critical thinking. For example, if a child questions a rule, it shouldn't be seen as rebellion, but as an opportunity to explain and reinforce values. Furthermore, it's important to teach them how to handle failure. Not all decisions will be right, and that's okay. A child who understands that making mistakes is part of learning develops resilience. Instead of giving up, they learn to try again with more experience. A clear example: a teenager who chooses their friends poorly may face emotional consequences. Instead of saying, "I told you so," it's more helpful to guide them to reflect, what did you learn from this experience? What would you look for differently in a friendship next time? This way, the mistake turns into growth. Finally, the goal is not to raise perfect children, but people capable of thinking for themselves, with clear values and the confidence that they can face the world. Confidence, boundaries, and character don't appear overnight, but with constant guidance, they become a solid foundation. Because when a child knows who they are, what they want, and what they are not willing to accept, it's much harder for the world to push them in the wrong direction.